Most materials seem to obey a rule of 4, and scientists are utterly stumped. Yeah, right? Weird, right? I thought it was kind of weird. Rule of 4. What the hell does that mean? Let me just read a little bit of this to you. An analysis of a vast database of compounds has revealed a curious repeating pattern in the way matter composes itself. Of more than 80,000 electronic structures of experimental and predicted materials studied, so experimental and predicted, so not even necessarily real materials just yet, but anyway, a whopping 60% have a basic structural unit based on a multiple of 4. Seems very numerological, eh? A little bit, eh? What's so strange about this is that the research team that discovered this pattern couldn't figure out why it happens. All we know at the moment is that it's real and observable. It just evades explanation. Quote, through an extensive investigation, in this work we highlight and analyze the anomalous abundance of inorganic compounds whose primitive unit cell contains a number of atoms that is a multiple of 4, a property that we name the rule of 4. It sounds very, very ancient. It sounds very esoteric. It sounds very like it should be on the wall of an ancient pyramid in hieroglyphs, if you know what I mean. So that's what the team wrote, led by physicist Elena Gazzarini, formerly of the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Switzerland, now at CERN. Well, that's a little wild. Now at CERN. Okay, so, I mean, yeah, right? So here's where the synchronicities come in, okay? Because shout out Jen, once again, for sending me some wild ideas. And it didn't include this, but again, the synchronicities just kind of bang their heads together when you're not even looking for it sometimes. Absolutely wild. Okay, so this is where we begin, all right? We're going to start here, and this is absolutely nutters, because if we attain sort of a, and I say godlike, not in a blasphemous way. So as usual, look, everybody relax. We're trying to remove the dogma from the conversations and think about what this looks like in a larger context, okay? So godlike meaning that greater than human, okay? A demi-godlike, how about that? That's probably better. Like a demi-godlike understanding of material science. We're going to be able to do all manner of ridiculous things, including that George Jetson future where you go beep, beep on a machine and it just makes you a hot pizza out of nothing, right? That type of stuff. Now, somebody's working on that is Deep Prasad. If you guys know who that is on Twitter, I'll find his Twitter X profile and link it in the description if you guys are interested in that. But he's working on something that's called, I think it's called GenMat is what his thing is. And, you know, he's expressed interest in the past of being on the show. Apparently he's a fan, or maybe not. Maybe he's just like, hey, let's talk about material science. But basically he's doing cutting edge stuff, kind of getting to the bottom of this, the bottom of what reality is. I don't really know. Anyway, so check this out. This is absolutely wild where this begins. And so the paper here is called The Rule of 4, Anomalous Distributions in the Stoichiometries, of inorganic compounds. I even read that and practiced it before we started, and I still botched it. Stoichiometries of inorganic compounds. I think it's how you say it. Anyway, so link is going to be in the description if you want to read the paper in full. And, you know, I'm not going to read just scientific papers because it'll bore you to tears and put you and me to sleep and embarrass me because I won't be able to pronounce half the words. But okay, so the wild part about this is that we have, again, these numerological constants kind of popping up in maybe the base code of the nature of reality. And no, we're not going to go all simulation theory on this tonight, but if you'd like to, you can. I think there's something to not just this, because here's the thing, right? As where we at time-wise, I think we're good. Yeah, okay, cool. I got a minute to explain this, a minute or two. So check this out. So this is all based on something called a coordination number. And if you guys are into your chemistry, material science, then you will know quite a bit more about this than I do. But this is one thing I did remember. Check this out. It's called the coordination number. So in chemistry, crystallography, and material science, the coordination number of a central atom in a molecule or crystal is the number of atoms, molecules, or ions bonded to it. The ion molecule atom surrounding the central ion molecule atom is called a ligand, Ligand. This number is determined somewhat differently for molecules than for crystals. So it seems like we've known this for quite some time because listen to this. For molecules and polyatomic ions, the coordination number of an atom is determined by simply counting the other atoms to which it is bonded. For example, this long thing is I'm not going to read it. At its central, it has a coordination number of 6 and is described as a hexacoordinate. Yeah, now we're talking. Okay, but the common coordination numbers are 4, 6, and 8. Back to, again, the rule of 4. Multiples of 4 and how this boils down. Very, again, numerology style, which is a little bit strange to me when you start to look at this and, sniff out what's really happening in the cosmos, okay? And, of course, at the, let's say, the base level of the atomic scale, at the very, very bottom of this. But, of course, what goes beyond the atomic scale? Well, the subatomic scale. And so we'll get to that in just a moment here. And it is strange. Okay, so keep this in mind. The coordination number, the common coordination numbers are 4, 6, and 8. And we're talking about this material science now where they're talking about a rule of 4 in this massive database. And scientists can't figure out exactly why this is. And there were a number of theories to start, and they kind of shot them all down. First, they thought it could have been an error in the database, so they triple-checked everything. It wasn't that. Other ideas, they were like, okay, maybe it was something to do with silicon, because maybe these base materials that have silicon in them are base 4 or something to that effect. Nope, they shot that down. That wasn't true either. I mean, it was, but then it also wasn't enough to kind of make a correlation there. So anyway, I'm still trying to figure this out and scratching their chin. Yeah, what's up, James? Exactly. Oh, I'm glad you got back to 9, right? So 4 plus 8 plus 6 equals 18, and 1 plus 8 equals 9, which takes us all the way back to exactly where we're going to hit. So we're talking about, again, the coordination numbers. Keep this in mind. 4, 6, and 8 are the most common coordination numbers in material science, all right? But also keep in mind, as James smartly just did, it boils down to the number 9. And if you remember, anybody in the conspiracy game for any amount of time has probably heard the quote from Nikola Tesla, talking about how the universe is basically energy, frequency, and vibration. And if you understood the value and what did he say? I can't remember the exact quote. If you understood the significance of 3, 6, 9, you would be able to unlock the secrets of the cosmos, okay? So now we have two competing things here happening, which are unbelievable to me, which was blowing my mind when I was reading this stuff. And we'll get to CERN too. There's a CERN connection to this, which shout out, Jenna, if you're out there. This is absolutely wild. So this article I sniffed out and was like, okay, this is too wild not to talk about. I'm not smart enough, meaning science-y enough to kind of go deep into this. And maybe some of you are, and I'd love to hear it if you are. That stuff is amazing to me. But I do think there's something a little more, let's say, spooky to this in terms of, patterns, frequencies that we've been talking about, but also not just that, we're talking about materials. So think of this. And keep this in your back pocket as we're going to take a quick break here and get a word from our sponsor. But the coordination number, the common coordination numbers are 4, 6, and 8, and we're talking about this rule of 4 now, all right? And then, so 4, 6, 8, now also Nikola Tesla. So this is 4, 6, and 8 are for material properties. Now Tesla said 3, 6, 9 for energy, frequency, and vibration, which was not material properties specifically, sort of the woo category of things, right? So keep that in your back pocket as we go tonight. I don't really know the answers here, but I do wonder if something is amiss or something a little bit more wild than we ever dreamed is happening in our reality. So there you go. We're going a little bit weird tonight. We're going into the cosmic numerology a smidge. And look, as I always joke, I don't really know enough about numerology to talk about it coherently. I don't know enough about scientific endeavors, specifically material science in this case, to go really deep into that stuff. But, from a, squint your eyes cursory aspect of this, it seems like there's something a little bit spooky happening as part of this, okay? And I don't know what that means. And I mean spooky in the best way. I don't mean that, the ghosts are going to come flying out of CERN or something. Oh, by the way, have you guys seen that super hilarious meme? Speaking of CERN, we'll get to CERN in a second because it does fit into this. But there's this meme. I'll see if I can pull it up. It's on the meme thing over here on Troubled Minds on the Discord. If you guys haven't joined the Discord on Troubled Minds, I don't know what you're doing. Lots of hilarious stuff over there all the time. And the memes. This one's from Mattel. I saw this a few days before he posted this, and I was like, I'm not sure if I want to share this. So, is this a little blasphemous? Maybe, maybe. But check this out. Super funny. So we're going to get to CERN in just a second. But as we know, CERN, the Large Hadron Collider, has been trying to find, what would you call it? The God particle, right? So there's this meme, and I'll describe it to you because I know that many of you are audio listeners. The meme is this. You've got this Large Hadron Collider with a bunch of scientists kind of surrounded in white coats, and they're all running. Okay, what are they running from? Well, it appears as if Jesus Christ has actually Well, been resurrected and is flying out of the Large Hadron Collider, and that's the meme. That's it. That's the meme, and it is funny. So pardon the blasphemy, but I saw this and I almost fell out of my chair. It was kind of that funny when I saw it because the joke, of course, is they are trying to find the God particle. So imagine to their surprise if something like this went down, and yeah, which we've made the jokes about in the past with Shiva and all the rest, right? But super hilarious, and yeah. If you guys haven't seen that, all right. So now, why CERN, and how does this sort of come full circle? Well, this is how. So I was eyeballing this a little bit earlier today. This came out today, or yesterday. Sorry. Most materials seem to obey a rule of 4, and scientists are utterly stumped. Okay, which again, if you go down and read a little bit of this, so the physicist led by Elena Gazzarini, formerly of the Swiss Federal Institute in Switzerland, is now at CERN. Okay, now at CERN, as I said earlier. Now, how does that fit? Well, not just the funny Jesus meme, which was pretty funny, but this next thing, which Jen sent to me a little bit earlier. Okay, so here's the deal. Here's where we begin. Now, the questions are for this. What about this weird rule of 4? Why do we keep finding these patterns sort of in places we least expect? Not just material science, but again, back to the Tesla stuff, the energy, frequency, and vibration, the 369. And how come it's different? How come Tesla specifically said the 3, the 6, the 9, which are God's numbers, right? Baseball, as I always say, like that whole bit. The 3 strikes you're out. There's the 3 bases, plus home plate. Anyway, you get it. 9 innings. It's one of those things like we'll do a whole baseball show on that. I keep saying that, and we will do it. It is baseball season, so somebody remind me before the end of baseball season that we'll do sort of an esoteric baseball show because I think there's a lot there. But anyway, I digress. Back to this. So Tesla 3, 6, 9. Okay, but in this sense, that's sort of energy, frequency, vibration, and kind of in an abstract space because we don't really know exactly what he meant. Maybe he didn't either. He was maybe just kind of sniffing something out and seeing patterns that he kept recognizing as part of his science, the things he was doing, right? The free energy and a lot of that stuff that we've talked about in the past regarding Nikola Tesla. Now, the weird part is with this and the actual, what's it called? The coordination number is it's 4. So it's the rule of 4, and the most common coordination numbers are 4, 6, and 8. So very disparate things. And we're talking in one case, sort of non-materials. In the other case, we're talking materials, right? From the actual, what's the chart? The chart that has Bob Lazar's thing on there, right? That chart. Yeah. Okay. So weird, right? 4, 6, 8, 3, 6, 9, but we're talking about different things. All right. And now you would expect that there is something happening with regard to numerology in some sense with this, back to the universe kind of having these patterns, these fractal patterns possibly, that maybe we can detect through mathematics or through physics or through a combination thereof, okay? I don't know. However, here's where this gets weird, because you got to expect that if they're detecting things like this that are, quote, anomalous by their own standards, again, the rule of 4, they don't know why this is a thing. They've ruled out a bunch of things that could be errors and the rest, like I said. Read the article. It's pretty good. And read the whole paper if you're into the science, because there's a lot of really cool stuff here too. But the deal is this. If we've got 2, 4, 6, 3, 6, 9 in this weird aspect of always trying to find a smaller and smaller particle, the God particle, the Higgs boson, as we've been talking about in the past, well, it almost seems like they're never satisfied. So we were told that the God particle was the Higgs boson, right? We were told that was sort of the cat's meow. That was like, hey, Jesus is going to come flying out of the super collider now, right? We were kind of told that. I mean, not directly, it was more sort of an inference of indirectly by naming the damn thing the God particle as a nickname, right? Okay, so you see why I'm a little bit wisecracky. But okay, so that's the idea. Now, where was I? CERN. So again, going all the way back to the smallest particles, smashing these things together, and then trying to find even smaller and smaller and smaller aspects of the nature of reality is going to really kind of come to a head with this new materials science business and AI, as we've talked about in the past. But the wild part is, again, so this individual that was doing this study now works for CERN, as I said. Now, why is that important? Because, well, Jen sent me this morning, 10-ish, 10:30-ish or something, somewhere at noon, let's say noon, midday. She sent me this, and I didn't know this was a thing. This is from just last week or a couple weeks back, and this is from Popular Mechanics. A super collider on the moon could unlock the secrets of our universe, and we just found the secret to building one. On the moon, no less, right? No problem. Just a CERN on the moon. Like we don't even have a little hut up there for people to stay overnight in or anything. There's no like actual amenities yet on the moon. But well, now we're talking about putting a super collider on the moon. But not only that, check this out. This gets even more wild. The subheadline: the megastructure could produce 1,000 times more energy than the Large Hadron Collider, allowing scientists to rewind the clock and study the origins of the cosmos. Oh, oh, you don't say. Yeah, you see how this starts to get super weird. So there's a lot of really bizarre synchronicities with this just to begin, okay? And again, the conversations we've had in the past, week or couple weeks, whatever, really kind of spilling into each other as they tend to do, because one thing kind of inspires another sometimes. And as much as I try not to do too much of that, because it seems, I don't know, it seems like the inspiration's there, so that's when I'll roll with it. But if it's, we're not going to do 2 shows in a row about vampires, for instance, you know what I mean? But if the inspiration's there, maybe the zeitgeist is screaming about vampires, maybe. And that's kind of the point here, because now we're not just told this weird sort of synchronicity between these coordination, what are they called again? Coordination numbers and this rule of 4. But now we're also talking in the same sense of this individual now works for CERN, and well, wouldn't you know it, they're talking about building a super collider on the moon. Yeah, right. Here we go. All right, so check this out. Not only that, the super collider is supposed to be massive, and by some estimates, encircle the moon entirely. Okay, like a halo around the moon or something, right? Or let's say a belt, a cosmic belt, okay, around the moon. And that's how big they say this thing's going to be. But 1,000 times the power of the current CERN Hadron Collider in Geneva, Switzerland. So anyway, does any of this creep you out? Do you think there's something to this a little bit larger than just I don't know, everything boils down to mathematics and numbers? Why is it 2, 4, 6, 8 and sort of that pattern of numbers, and instead of the 3, 6, 9 of Nikola Tesla? Why is it, well, I don't know. Does any of this seem strange to you? Because, yeah, anyone seen 1999, Space 1999? What's up, Andy? I have not. Is there? Yeah, because, yeah, that's what they're talking about. So we'll get back to this and talk about not just that, but also Nikola Tesla's theories of 369 and the wild theories that this whole bit has spawned in the past. But you got to wonder if, he's talking about things as this one pattern of numbers, and now we're finding that material science in the most basic sense, the most fundamental sense, has this other thing that we can't explain that's very similar, except it's not 369 at all. 2, 4, 6, 8, who do we appreciate? So how weird is it? And that becomes the question here. And do you think there's more to it than that? Because as usual, you can get into this and look at the weird aspects of, trying to get to the moon in general. And, the communion on the moon that the astronauts did when they were there, that's been proven beyond a reasonable doubt, assuming, well, you are buying the real story. And, so doing just weird stuff that if you guys recall, it was Neil Armstrong and was it Buzz Aldrin, I believe, 2 of them anyway, that actually clicked over off the radio so they could do sort of a silent communion on the moon. And a ritual outside of the atmosphere and it creeps me out because the ritual stuff in general creeps me out anyway. But then now when you're doing these things in space for who knows what reason to bring in, should we be concerned? It says sweets indeed. Yeah, I don't know. And so a lot of things kind of fit into this, and including, of course, the ritual aspect of why the hell, before we have one little hut that you can stay overnight in on the damn moon, we have articles talking about exactly building a larger hadron collider on the moon. Yeah, to the moon. Anyway, does that strike you weird? Does it seem strange that this is a thing? And why exactly 2, 4, 6, 8, and why exactly 3, 6, 9? And you think it is connected? Or is, again, I hate to invoke a simulation theory. Like I said, we don't have to do that again, but it almost seems like there is some underlying pattern of the universe that it seems to be right in our face. And if you check the illustration here, I thought this was pretty cool. Working with the AI, the collaborator, and the rest, there's this nice hadron collider on the moon. And notice spilling out of the top of it is this big mass of numbers. Yeah. The cosmic code. What is this? And how bizarre does it get? And have you seen, again, a couple things that also are synchronistic here? They're talking about, should we be sending cremation humans, cremated humans, to the moon. I'll get those articles and put them up in a sec. But then also recently, the White House has mandated that we need to have a time zone on the moon now as well. Okay, so this type of stuff is coming. Standard moon time or whatever it's standard lunar time. I don't know. Weird, not weird, somewhere in between. I think there's a lot here to make me scratch my head. But how well troubled mindsy this is, other than some bizarre syncs and coincidences, I don't know. That's where you come in. Love to hear your thoughts on this. As usual, we're taking your calls. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that, and that puts us exactly where we need to be. So I don't know. I'm calling this one Matter Misbehaves. Breaking the rule of 4 of material science, but on the moon through a large hadron collider. The size of the moon itself, like a big belt around the moon. Very, I guess, when you start to get into the Kardashev civilization type stuff, I guess this would be sort of a largest hadron collider around the sun or something, right? Powered by the sun itself. Dyson sphere-esque. I don't know. Like, how bizarre does this get? Why is it 369? Why is it 2468? What the hell's going on with this in terms of not just material science, but the energy, the frequency, and the vibration, and CERN and the moon? It seems like we got some things coming together here, and maybe I'm dreaming, maybe I'm not. Tonight we're taking your calls as we talk about this, well, what seems to be some cosmic numerology happening, not just with material science, also going back in the opposite way, not 2468, but 369 Nikola Tesla, and this individual going to work at CERN. Well, recently, the last week or 10 days, there's also an article about putting a CERN on the moon, or, a larger hadron collider that encircles the moon, kind of like a belt. I mean, if we're equipping the belt like a like a stormtrooper or something, that's super cool. But if it's a hadron collider that's supposed to be 1,000 times more powerful than CERN on the moon, what the hell's going on with that? At least even specifically, let's say this doesn't happen in our lifetime. Okay. Or hold that thought. Let's say it doesn't. And it's just one of those dumb ideas where they're like, well, we could do this, so let's do this. We can, therefore we do. We never ask whether we should, but if we can, we'll do it, right? Maybe something like that. But how about this? So the idea of it, okay, pretty wild. But the second part is this. What if this does happen in our lifetime? Suddenly, there's like this military race to the moon, which is happening now with China, United States, and all these other countries trying to get up there super quickly. And, what happens if one of the first things they do start building on the moon is a larger hadron collider? Would that would that freak you out a little bit? Because let me tell you what, it would freak me out a little bit. Of all the things you could build up there first, why would you build that?